Imene 37 the legislature in Guam is back from recess. Good afternoon, colleagues. We're still on second reading, and now we are on resolution number 441-37LS. Primary sponsor Tina Rose Munoz Barnes. Vice Speaker, you are recognized.
Situs Masi, Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak regarding Resolution 441-37LS. And at this time, I would like to move this Resolution 441-37LS as introduced by myself, Tina Rose Munoz Barnes, Senator Jesse A. Lahan, Senator Christopher M. Duenas, Senator Joe T. D. San Nicolas, and Senator Joe S. San Augustine, which is relative to expressing the support of H.R. 8786, introduced in the United States House of Representatives, which seeks to provide for a cabotage exemption for foreign air carriers landing in Guam or the Northern Marianas. I'd like to place that into the third reading file, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to speak on it.
Please proceed.
Thank you again, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak on this resolution, which literally aims to bring down the cost of flying in and out of the Marianas. This measure conveys the Guam Legislature's support for House Resolution 8786, introduced by our Delegate James Moylan. Our Congressman's legislation, Madam Speaker, is critical, in my personal opinion, because it addresses the significant challenges posed by the current aviation cabotage laws on Guam and the northern Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas. These outdated restrictions have long limited our access to competitive air travel options, resulting in higher costs and fewer choices for residents and businesses. As we all know, colleagues, the region relies heavily on air travel. The lack of affordable flights and airlines flying to our island is a point of contention, especially between leaders in this region and industry stakeholders. We have seen, colleagues, these debates play out for years with resolutions after resolutions at conferences like at the Association of Pacific Island Legislators, and even as recent as the Mariana Islands Legislatures Association, which is called MILA. Madam Speaker and colleagues, H.R. 8786 will allow foreign airlines to operate flights between Guam, the CNMI, and other United States points. This change is not just about lowering transportation costs. It's about opening up new opportunities for economic growth, enhancing connectivity, and improving the overall quality of our life for our island communities. With the limited resources we have, we often can't compete with other economies offering better incentive packages to airlines. The passage of H.R. 8786 will be a great tool for the government to attract airlines and provide a much-needed relief to our stagnant economies. And the support from our community for this federal effort and the endorsement from our local legislature was overwhelming. I have many people to thank, Madam Speaker, for coming out during the public hearing for this resolution. And the next item on our agenda, a related resolution as authored by my good colleague from Tamuning, I'd have to say my uncle from Tamuning, is also wanting to help this effort. So first, it was clear, Madam Speaker, that the executive manager of the Antonio B. Wampat International Airport Authority, former senator, and no secret, my brother-in-law, former Senator John Canetta, he made it clear that this change in federal law would attract more airline services to our region, and that this has the potential to reduce airfare rates and has the mutual benefit of bringing in more revenues to our airport authority and adding to the recovery of our long-depressed tourism industry. The differences between the number of variety of airlines, including Guam, in their respective routes before and after COVID-19 pandemic, according to the executive manager, Kanata, I will quote this, he said, he stated, our regional residents have less option of carrier choice, less frequency for connectivity, and are subjected to a monopolistic airfare pricing amid restrictive federal regulatory environments for foreign carriers. And I'm going to add into this, Madam Speaker, that I don't know, I know a lot of those that are listening in would feel the same way. Flights on peak seasons for Guam to anywhere in the United States, or even as close to our brothers and sisters in the NMI, a flight to Saipan costs over $500, even if you give several days' notice. A flight to the United States, for me to go from here to Arizona, depending on the timeline, anywhere between $2,800 and even up to $8,000 on an economy flight. And these carriers, Madam Speaker, I would say, through their presence at the hearing on Resolution 441, made their voices clear as well, and they are very hopeful for a day where the playing field for their industry is fair to them. These regional business, Madam Speaker, included Japan Airlines, Korean Airlines, T-Way Air, Jeju Air, and Jin Air, and I thank them for their participation in our local government's efforts. But I want to share with you that we know that there's a personal impact to the federal restrictions of forced onto Guam. High airfares prevent families from reuniting. It drives up the cost of life-saving medical care only available off-island. It deepens the grief of parents and children trying to get home to bury their loved ones. And as we learned through the public hearing, cabotage laws are also making it harder for the islands of the Marianas to reduce its stray pet population. And I want to note at the public hearing, as explained by Lauren Cabrera, the president of the Guam Animals in Need, which is GAIN, who's the co-founder of the Booney Flight Project and the founder and president of the Saipan Humane Society, the only commercial service for pet transportation on Guam results in our people who are not military service members being relocated must pay thousands of dollars per pet to fly them through chartered airlines. It means that 40% of surrendered pets at GAIN are due to families relocating. It means that people are putting to sleep beloved pets who are left on the island with an already overwhelming dog and cat population. It means rescue organizations cannot transport stray animals off island for better lives, and they are put to sleep too. Think about that, colleagues. Up to 40% of pets surrendered to GAIN are there because families moved off island and have no way to bring their dogs or cats with them. We shouldn't have to raise thousands of dollars to bring a four-legged family member with us. We shouldn't have to raise thousands of dollars to afford flying to get an operation. And we certainly shouldn't have to burden grieving families with the prospect of missing a final goodbye for their loved one. These are moments in life where we are trying to ease through this resolution and ultimately through House Resolution 8786. And Madam Speaker and colleagues, I must thank the good Congressman Jim Moylan and his staff for thinking outside the box through pushing for cabotage exemption. And I'm really humbled by the support of my co-sponsors on this resolution, Senators Jesse Lahan, Senator Chris Duenas, Senator Dwayne St. Nicholas, Senator Joe St. Augustine, and I'm hoping all of us could be on this resolution And seeing the value in this effort, I ask that my colleagues join me in voting for House Resolution 441, Madam Speaker. And you know, I shared those examples, and my granddaughter, whose husband is stationed in Germany and has already been deployed twice, when she had to come for the services for my husband, it was really hard because she had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars, and $4,000 plus may not mean a lot to those who can afford it, but for my granddaughter who has 2 kids who are 1 and 2, and just literally having to make sure that her service loved one, her service dog, needs to be with her, how difficult it is to bring that kind of financial hardship. And yet, if our family didn't pitch in, she probably wouldn't even be able to come to the services. And that's just one of many. We talk about the loss, losing a loved one and trying to bring families here. What about just trying to bring a loved one home who has passed away back there, whether it be as close from St. Luke's or Medical City Hospital or the United States, how much it costs just to bring a loved one home for the final resting place is so difficult. And in this effort, Madam Speaker, I really humbly ask that our colleagues help me support this resolution, and I'm hoping to get a unanimous support and have all 15 of us on it, because if we can work together with Congress and really facilitate this through, it would be a big difference in driving costs down and truly seeing days where we probably could go. I mean, it's easier to go to Philippines at $2.99 a ticket than it is to go to Saipan at $500 plus $600 or $1,000 to Palau, which is our brothers and sisters, which is only an hour flight, almost 1,000, if not over 1,000. And if it's a one-day need to take a trip from Palau here for business or what have you, it'll cost you in the thousands for a 1-hour trip, let alone a 30-minute trip or 30 minutes from Guam to Saipan. So, Madam Speaker, I hope my colleagues support that, and I want to just say, Undangkol Nasitus Maasi, for giving me the opportunity to speak about this resolution, and I ask my colleagues once again, I think this is like the 3rd or 4th time I humbly ask them to support this, and I really want this to be unanimous, so thank you. Sana Maasi.
Sizus Masi, on the resolution, Senator Lujan, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon, colleagues. I stand in full support of course, Resolution 441-37 LS. You know, we had and thank you to the retiring Speaker, Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muñoz Barnes for allowing a joint public hearing on these resolutions. This is a two-pronged approach, Madam Speaker, and I will speak of my resolution after this resolution has been put into the voting file. But let me just say that this is deja vu. This has been a 22-year struggle for us to try to get an exemption. And in the beginning, of course, we asked for the full loaf. We were able to get half a loaf, but now we want to go for, again, the full loaf. So as the author of Resolution 441-37 had expressed that, of course, this is in support of House Resolution 8786, authored by Congressman Jim Moylan, to exempt Guam from cabotage restrictions for Guam and the Northern Marianas Islands as a matter of national policy. Of course, that measure, if adopted, will achieve the air transportation equivalent to the exemption of the the Jones Act. And I wholeheartedly support, of course, that exemption. So with that, Madam Speaker, I just want to say, again, I'll wait until my resolution comes up, and I'll go through the history of where we were and where we're at today, because this is a two-pronged approach. Vice Speaker Tina Rose Munoz Barnes is approaching it through the congressional side. My resolution will approach it through the executive side, and that's the side that I have had the opportunity to be able to bring our argument to the Department of Transportation, and we're pretty successful. We got to hit it in all routes that we're able to do so. This is a little bit longer, it's more political in nature, but if we can get Congress to be able to give the full exemption, that is the ultimate thing. That would be the ultimate victory for us to get a full exemption from cabotage. But that being said, because we are where we're at this point, we're going to try to hit it in all angles. But that being said, Madam Speaker, I urge my colleagues to, again, support Resolution 441-37, and hoping that we get, of course, a united voice of 15 to be able to pass it, and likewise transmit it to Congress for their serious consideration in support of Congressman Moylan's House Resolution 8786. With that being said, Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'll wait for my resolution to come up, which is next. Thank you very much.
Jesus Masi, Senator. On the resolution, is there anyone else who'd like to speak on the resolution? Senator Kanata, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Certainly very much in support of this proposed resolution. I think it's very important and incumbent of us as lawmakers to try to find solutions to the heavy costs and burdensome rates out there with us having specific airlines to choose from. We all know that our island and our economy is very limited onto the sourcing of sorry, brain fart. What we can purchase out there because of this cabotage law. And it is my hope that if we open the doors for free market and allow other interested parties to invest in our island, then perhaps, hopefully, we can start seeing and availing for cheaper flights and whatnot. I think also we need to support investments on the airport tarmac, if we can, to allow for other investors who want to have hangars built, but, you know, our law, again, is very limiting for those kinds of investors to 5 years if they want to lease on government property. So it's very much important for us to support these economic possibilities so that we can ensure that our people can have possible cheaper rates. And I'm very much in support of this proposed resolution, and I thank you for your time.
Jesus Masi, Senator. On the resolution, is there any senator who'd like to be recognized? Senator San Augustine, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, there's two resolutions, and they both support each other, the cabotage. And you know, many of us have always spoken and said this before. It's so costly to come to Guam or even leave Guam. And with this resolution, and we're very fortunate, okay, our former senator, now our congressman, is pursuing this. I believe that this body needs to stand up and support it, because it's not about party, it's about the well-being of our people of Guam. And with that, I stand in full support of this resolution, and even the next resolution, because it's about trying to find a way. You know, GVB went to the motion for the liberation to find a way to reduce the cost. Well, let's find a way to get Congress to agree and accept this HR resolution, and we move on from here. Because if we don't stand up for this, then don't expect anything to change as far as flying out or even flying in. People will be hesitant. They're going to go to the Philippines. They're going to go to every other direction but directly from Hawaii. And we need to change that. Lastima, this is where America's Day begin. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sus Masi, Senator, on the resolution, is there anyone else who'd like to speak on the resolution? On the resolution? If not, then the sponsor may close on the resolution. 441.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank the retiring speakers for speaking in support of this measure. And I just know that with the support for this HR resolution, that it will literally help not just our economic opportunity, but our personal livelihoods, being able to really, whether it be medical, a medical need for a specialty off island, whether it be grieving again the lost one and having to come home, whether it be literally working with our other brothers and sisters within the Blue Continent for meetings. Cost is so high that if we don't try together, we're going to continue to be stuck in this area. And this is an opportunity to start with. The good senator from Tamuning said it was literally, what, he said deja vu, right? 22 years? I don't know how much more we can keep trying, right? But we should never quit. We should never give up. But I really think that with the support of this effort and the push that, and working it from all angles, that we are never giving up and that we're continuing to try. But this would definitely make a difference for our community, for our businesses, for our economies, more importantly for our loved ones, so that we can be able to travel to and from at reasonable rates, get the expertise we need, get the training we need if it can't be done here, to be able to do it within reason. So thank you, Madam Speaker. And at this time, I ask that we move Resolution 441-37 into the third reading voting file. And again, ask my colleagues to please support this effort on this matter.
On that motion to move Resolution 441-37 to third reading, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. We're now on Resolution 447-37 COR. Senator Lujan, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, a motion to place Resolution 447-37, relative requesting the United States Secretary of Transportation to authorize a temporary 24 consecutive month exemption to expand cargo and passenger flexibility at the AB Wampat International Airport Authority, Guam, and allow certain foreign carriers to stop in Guam in the course of transportation of passengers or cargo in either direction between a place in the United States and a place outside the United States for other purposes, on the third reading file. And I would like to talk on the resolution,
Please
Madam
proceed.
Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And good afternoon again, colleagues. Colleagues, I want to thank also, a couple colleagues in here were, during this, of course, 22-year journey, Senator Brown, Senator Bloss, and myself had served in previous legislatures where this all started. It all started back, and I'll read this resolution so our colleagues can understand how long it's been and what we've had to undertake and where we've had to go to get to where we're at, and we're starting all over again. So let me read the resolution. Be it resolved by the Committee on Rules de 1987 en la legislatura en Guam, whereas limited air competition has made flights from Guam to the Commonwealth and Northern Marianas Islands, or to Hawaii, or to the U.S. mainland exceedingly expensive, imposing a significant financial burden on residents, visitors, and military personnel stationed on the island, ultimately restricting their ability to travel affordably and frequently. The Antonio B. Wampat International Airport Authority relies heavily on foreign air carriers for transportation needs due to limited availability and high cost of U.S. carrier flights. Japan, the Philippines, the Republic of Korea are critical allies, the United States in the Indo-Pacific region, and their air carriers have been essential in bridging transportation gaps between the U.S. and the Pacific Islands. Facilitating the operation of foreign air carriers from these nations in Guam would enhance connectivity, promote competition, reduce travel costs, and boost tourism and economic development in the region. In June 2024, Guam's delegate in the House of Representatives, Congressman James C. Moylan, introduced the Pacific Islands Flight Alternatives Act of 2024, which seeks to amend Section 41703 of Title 49, United States Code, to allow certain foreign air carriers to add or remove passengers or cargo in Guam, or the CNMI, without breaking the international journey, whereby enhancing air commerce in these territories. The government of Guam has long-standing commitment to seeking regulatory changes that enhance air service access and economic opportunities. Colleagues, in 2002, island leaders, including the AB Wampat International Airport Authority Board of Directors, led at the time, of course, by former Lieutenant Governor and Senator Frank Blas. The 27th Guam Legislature had a resolution, and the Governor of Guam united in support of petitions for exemptions that would allow Guam to better utilize its geographic location for economic advantage, highlighting the potential for economic benefits from increased U.S. and foreign air carrier activity. The U.S. Department of Transportation had previously granted exemptions for domestic air travel regulations to international airports in Alaska, Hawaii, to promote increased U.S. and foreign air carrier activity, organizing the unique needs of these regions. The government of Guam endeavors to ease air transportation restriction is further enhanced by the efforts, of course, by the petition, which we formally filed with the U.S. Department of Transportation for exemptions from restrictive regulations, such as in the case presented to Ms. Dorothy Beard, Director, Documentary Services, U.S. Department of Transportation, and this was back in February 2006, where the Guam Legislature wrote Ms. Dorothy Beard, referencing the state of Alaska's petition number OST-96-1600, which explicitly acknowledged Guam's special needs for air services and the regulatory power to assist in the economic well-being of our island. The petition highlighted the economic benefits of such exemption for the AB Wampat Guam International Airport, particularly in enhancing the island's ability to compete in the trans-Pacific travel and cargo markets. The requested exemption aligned with the broader goals of the U.S. Department of State's Open Skies initiative, aimed at allowing market forces to determine air transportation access and frequency, which would significantly contribute to Guam's economic recovery and growth by leveraging its strategic geographic location. 7 years after 2002, in 2009, the Department of Transportation recognized that Guam's locality and isolation places the island in an economic disadvantage and granted Guam cargo exemption to air transportation regulations that had the potential to reduce the cost of air freight goods to and from Guam. The air cargo exemption allowed foreign air carriers to move cargo from a foreign city to a U.S. point of entry, then to another. However, the Department of Transportation did not grant Guam passenger exemption. In recent years, the Department of Transportation had granted exemptions to air cargo and air passenger flexibility, such as in the case of Puerto Rico. June 7th, 2019, Puerto Rico Department of Economic Development and Commerce applied to the U.S. Department of Transportation, USDOT, to expand international cargo and passenger transfer activities at several Puerto Rican airports. On February 19, 2020, the U.S. Department of Transportation issued an order for public comment on granting foreign air carriers a 2-year exemption to expand these activities. On April 29, 2020, USDOT granted this exemption, allowing international cargo and passenger transfer services at Mercedita Airport in Ponce Rafael Hernandez Airport in Agadulla and Luis Munoz Martin Airport in Carolina. This exemption is significant because it makes Puerto Rico the only U.S. territory with such an exemption for both cargo and passenger transfers. Unlike the state of Alaska, the Marianas Islands, and Guam, which had only previously been granted cargo exemptions. The negative effects of COVID-19 pandemic shutdown, which spanned over 3 years from 2020 to 2022, devastated Guam's tourism industry, a vital component to the island's economy, causing significant financial losses and widespread unemployment across the island. The aftermath of Super Typhoon Mawar in 2023 further exacerbated Guam's economic challenges, damaging infrastructure and delaying recovery efforts. Authorizing a temporary 24 months exemption to expand air cargo and passenger flexibility at the AB Wampat Guam International Airport Authority would provide a crucial boost to our island by increasing air traffic, promoting trade, and attracting new business opportunities. Colleagues, the reason I would love a full exemption, and that's why our twin bill, basically, not really twin, but a better bill if it was ever, or a resolution, if it's passed in the House, that would give us a full exemption. But precedents had been set in the Puerto Rico case for a 24-month exemption. So we are going to use Puerto Rico's argument, but even enhanced by even a greater need with the military buildup and with the challenges that we face out here in Guam. A lot more than what Puerto Rico faces. Precedent has been set on that, and that granting has already been set with that. I hope and pray that if we are granted this exemption, that we will take advantage of that immediately, which will give our delegate, again, a better argument in the House to be able to get a full exemption for cabotage exemption into Guam. So with that, Madam Speaker, I ask that my colleagues support both 441 and Resolution 441 and 447. And if your names aren't on here, I think it's because we had to submit it in time for when we had the joint session with our CNMI brothers and sisters, because we also passed, I think the resolution number 1 that we passed is a joint resolution that also called for cabotage exemption. So it's not only Guam, but I know the CNMI has their resolution, but we also had a joint resolution as well. So we are speaking with one voice here, and likewise, both delegates, both congressmen in Washington, Congressman Moylan and Congressman Kalili, would be receiving these resolutions as well. So in this area here, the Marianas, we are speaking with one voice. This resolution, of course, here, our resolution 447, is going through, again, the Department of Transportation, the executive route, which I'm familiar with, and it's the route that was taken in the Puerto Rico case, and it's a route I think that we can be able to get that exemption with even further arguments. If need be, we would go out there and present our case to DOT, and hopefully if that was granted, we're granted that we will be able to show the cause for a complete lifting of cabotage. With that, Madam Speaker, I want to thank my colleagues, and I'm hoping for a full support of both 441 and 447, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Jesus Masi, Senator. On that resolution, Senator Dueñas, you're recognized.
Sidus Masi, Madam Speaker, and good afternoon. Buenas tardes. You know, I want to thank the mover of 447-37 resolution, and I also am a supporter and a co-sponsor of 441-37. I want to thank the author, Senator Lujan, for a really, really excellent historical purview on this effort. I wanted to make 3 points this afternoon, Madam Speaker. I mean, they'll all stand to reason, but I think it's just something that's worth reiterating. You know, some of us travel, of course, for pleasure, to go and experience new places or go see family or for whatever reason. And of course, you know, leisure is something we all try to get a little bit of in our life. And, you know, that's, of course, one reason. Madam Speaker, the other reason, as the good former speaker on 441 discussed, many, you know, travel for much more difficult reasons, either to go seek medical care or to be with loved ones or to take loved ones home, perhaps, as was mentioned. And the third thing, Madam Speaker, is, and I'm sure it's been addressed many times in legislative forums, one of the greatest impediments regionally for us to be able to realize economic development, particularly in diversification of tourism, is the very costly airfare to travel throughout the region, as well as the less amounts of flights and frequency to increase product distribution that goes by air from time to time throughout our region, to include, of course, the Marianas in whole and Micronesia. You know, it's for this reason, Madam Speaker, that it's high time that we address this issue. You know, competition is something that really drives, you know, every industry in the business world. And the difficulty we have here is really what causes this onerous situation. As I mentioned, it's not just the travel to and from, it's all of these things in terms of regional economic development. You know, we've discussed from time to time the ability of cruise ships, which are visiting with some frequency now, and the expansion of Guam as the hub of the Pacific out to other tourism destinations, particularly Micronesia, and creating that loop and strengthening that loop. But it's more practical, of course, particularly with our customer base being predominantly Asian, you know, to travel by air. So it's for these reasons, Madam Speaker, that we cannot give up on this effort. We cannot give up on this effort to try to tackle this. I'm sure there are many more reasons, but these are the reasons that constantly stand out to me, Madam Speaker. You know, of course, if you travel for leisure, you pay, right? But the bottom line is that your ability also, you know, to be in a market that's more competitive, to have more ability to use the resources that you have with with what many others, predominantly most people in the world, have the ability to really select and choose and have competitive rates to fly. And once again, like I said, whether for entertainment and leisure, or whether because you have serious needs for that travel. But I really want to hone in on our missed opportunities here. We know tourism is a fragile market. Trying to get return visitors out to Guam, having a situation whereby we have more competition and cheaper flights and to be able to service throughout our Micronesian region is something that would be exponentially beneficial for us. To have return people coming to Guam, to have a much easier path to go and visit other islands. And so it's for those reasons, Madam Chair, that I hope that we can, with this effort, get at least a temporary, and it would support the larger, as my good friend Senator Lujan says, get our half a loaf and then hopefully eventually get the full loaf. So with that, Madam Speaker, I hope that the body will see the wisdom in these two resolutions, and particularly this one, and pass them unanimously, and continue to send the message that we have a big, beautiful airport up there. The A.V. Wampat International Airport, and just, so many gates just ready to receive aircraft, expand our economy, both in cargo and, in transshipment opportunities for Guam. It's really endless at some point when we can get past this current impediment. It's economic development, it's serving our people, it's helping those who are in need in medical issues, and of course those of us who just want to see friends and family and see the world. So with that, Madam Speaker, I hope that these resolutions get unanimous support, and Sidus Masi for the opportunity to share some of my thoughts on this important matter.
Sidus Masi, Senator Dueñas. On the resolution 447, Vice Speaker, you're recognized.
Sidus Masi, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to rise and speak on Resolution 447-37, which also aims to bring down the cost of flying in and out of our Marianas. This measure, as the good sponsor mentioned previously, focuses on the executive branch of the federal government through the Secretary of Transportation. And as the good author of this resolution from Tamuning included in his report on Resolution 447, this isn't an unprecedented request, nor would it be an unheard of for the federal government to grant a cabotage exemption to Guam. With the United States Department of Transportation concluding in a 2006 document, it quoted, "It is in the public interest to grant, in part, the request of the territory of Guam to permit foreign air carriers to provide expanded services at Guam's Antonio B. Wampat International Airport." Specifically, Madam Speaker, in that 2006 decision, the United States Department of Transportation granted Guam the treatment directly comparable to which was previously accorded to Alaska and Hawaii, two outlying states that have circumstances surrounding air travel that are similar to Guam and the Marianas. So because history shows the outcome sought by Resolution 447 is reasonable and attainable, and for all of the other reasons that are at the heart of my Resolution 441, I want to say I stand in full support of this measure as well. And like I said previously, I support the good senator from Tamuning never giving up. Since the 27th Guam Legislature, we are now in the 37th Guam Legislature, and we're still trying and seeing what we can do to make this happen. So I literally humbly ask my colleagues, Madam Speaker, to join us in in approving both these critical resolutions. And again, thank the good author from Tamuning, Uncle Jesse, for giving me the opportunity to work closely with him on this, share with me a lot of the history, and then working closely with the delegate's office to make sure that we add not just through the congressional prong approach, but to also work it from the Department of Transportation and, never giving up. So thank you for the opportunity, again, for letting me stand and rise in support of this measure, and ask my colleagues to support the same. Sana maasin si Diyos ang benedisi.
Diyos masi. On the resolution, is there anyone else who'd like to be recognized on the resolution? Senator Kanata, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in full support of this proposed resolution. Again, I think it's prudent of our body to pass both of these resolutions, 441 and 447, in hopes that Uncle Sam heeds our calls, allowing for our people to have the opportunity to choose and truly be free. I hope that these resolutions can work hand in hand for those individuals or parties that it's intended to serve to, and bring all our ideas to the table so that we can truly have a better economic opportunity. As the Oversight Chair for Economic Development, I think it's very imperative that we really look into our tourism market and how we can offer other adjacent countries and the opportunity to travel to Guam, and also lower down our airfare costs. I just wanted to clarify, if the author may yield, how will this temporary exemption specifically help the local business and tourism industry in Guam within the next 2 years?
Would the sponsor yield to that question?
I'll yield to the question. Can you ask the question again, please?
How will the temporary exemption specifically help local businesses and tourism industry in Guam within the next 2 years?
Well, if we're granted the exemption, at least for 24 months, I'm hoping the full 24 months, and it depends on what country is allowed to come to Guam, and then one other U.S. destination. Let me just throw it out there. Say Philippine Airlines is allowed, okay? Those Filipinos that want to spend time here in Guam, likewise, maybe spend some time here in Guam, and maybe go to another destination, they can take a flight out of Guam as well on Philippine Airlines to whatever other destination it is back in the United States. It'll help tremendously. It'll help definitely bring down costs right away, because then you would have, at least if they grant one other airline, which they probably will, if you have two airlines that fly that route, you're going to see the cost cut almost in half right away. You're going to see that. I mean, you see that in other destinations where you're flying to the Philippines. There used to be 3 airlines. I remember when we had the Cebu Pacific flying to Guam. It was, $99 round trip? It definitely, and, if they were the only airlines, they wouldn't be charging $99. So you see the competition now. I think if you go online right now between United and PAL, you see that there's definitely a price war in going to the Philippines. So you would, hopefully there's they better their product, and it's better for the consumer as well, right? Competition is good all the way around. So it definitely help us economically. The airport will be a lot busier, not only with traffic coming in here, but with transit passengers as well. And we definitely need the numbers. I hope that answered your question, Senator Kanata.
Thank you so much, Senator Lohan. Definitely did hit the nail on the casket. So, healthy competition. It's very important and vital for the consumers. If we don't have competition, then you'll just have profit focused always with these big businesses. So, another question I wanted to pose to the author: what measures will be put in place to ensure the increased air traffic complies with safety and environmental standards?
The sponsor yield to that question.
Thank you very much. Those will definitely not be in our hands. Those will be in the FAA. That would be beyond our, of course, our pay grade. Those will have to be granted by, of course, the FAA and TSA and all that. But the airlines that are coming here already, okay, they've already, the foreign airlines that come into Guam already have met those standards. They've obviously met those standards because they've had to go get their FAA certificates to be able to come to Guam, as well as TSA. So all those safety measures, not just their safety measures in passengers and how they, again, board planes and things of that nature, but also in their maintenance of their planes. So all those standards have to be met before they even come to Guam. There's a very stringent certification process that they will have to go through. So the ones that come here already have that certification. So it's, again, FAA, TSA, and whatever other federal agency that's in charge of transportation, those clearances are given by them, not by us.
Thank you, Senator Lujan. I appreciate the clarification on that. Certainly, I just want to make sure that we're complying with all the environmental and air traffic regulations. I want to echo the sentiments of my colleague earlier from the good village of Sinahanya, Senator Chris Duenas. A lot of our people actually navigate these particular issues, and in the most unfortunate circumstances. The harsh reality is a lot of our people are not going out to travel for pleasure. A lot of them are traveling for medical matters. I know certainly that my office receives solicitation letters not only in our box here at the protocol, but also in email form, also on Instagram. A lot of our people are unfortunately in really dire circumstances, and we don't have the facilities nor the support in the medical side to offer these individuals to get that kind of assistance they need so direly. All of us have countless calls from individuals seeking, again, donations for medical aid. And we also see car washes every weekend. And unfortunate circumstances, again, it's for medical. And I think it's very imperative of our body to pass this resolution. And I'm hopeful that, again, Uncle Sam heeds the calls of our elected leaders here, the governor and the congressman, very much look into this, because I think it's very serious for us to address. And it is my hope that with this healthy competition, that the airline companies out there will invest in the infrastructure to come here as well. And we can actually see some consumer support bases being covered. And that, again, healthy competition will help our people out more than anything. And we'll probably even see some people actually traveling instead for medical, for actual pleasure. I mean, we all know about St. Luke's. We all know about Keck Med. We all know about Cedar Sinai. It's very imperative that we get some support for our people out there. And it is my hope that with the passage of this proposed resolutions 441 and 447, that they can lockstep and proceed to the proper people and channels it needs to get to, and that they heed our calls for our people. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Nothing further.
Sijusmasi, Senator. On the resolution, is there any other senator who'd like to be recognized on the resolution? On the resolution, any other senator? If not, then sponsor may close. Senator Lujan.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, colleagues. You know, one added thing I got to say, since 2002, we didn't have a runway long enough to be able to go from Guam to the West Coast. And that was one of the challenges that we faced at that time, because in getting an exemption, Madam Speaker, we were asking for Guam to be exempted as the first U.S. destination. And so if our runway was still short as it was back in, or shorter than it is now, back in 2002, if an airline was allowed to fly to Guam, they would probably, based on the distance, and you know, they won't be flying a smaller plane because that's an 8-hour flight. They would flying a bigger plane. But if they have to fly to Hawaii, that will be the first U.S. destination outside of Guam, and then they will have to turn back. But because our runway has extended now, it's easier now if a foreign airline were to come to Guam and we got exempted from the first U.S. port of entry, the exemption, they can fly straight from Guam to maybe the East Coast or the West Coast, nonstop. They don't have to stop for refueling because our runway now can handle a 777 or 78 full of passengers, full of cargo, and full of gas. Because the runway is long enough for a loaded airline, big airline, to take off in the length of our runway. So that has changed since 2002. And you know, they talk about prices. The U.S. airline now that flies from Manila to Guam, if you were Manila and you bought a plane ticket, that U.S. airline, say to go to the West Coast, they'll come to Guam and they'll probably transit here for a couple hours before they take off. But that same plane that we board, Guam passengers, we board and we go and we take off like to Hawaii. You're going to have passengers in there that has just gotten off their flight from Manila 2 hours earlier, 3 hours further away, but paying anywhere from $300 to $500 more. Does it make sense, does it? Being further away, using more fuel, and paying more, or paying less. Paying less than folks that are boarding the plane here in Guam to the same destination. That's because we don't have competition. And so with that, Madam Speaker, again, thank you to my colleagues, and I urge, again, my colleagues to, again, vote positively on both Resolution 441 and 447, and let's get this sent to Congress and also to the Department of Transportation, and let's hit it in both routes and support the Congressman's effort to finally get us, again, our ultimate end result will be, again, the full exemption of cabotage for Guam. With that, thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
So just want to see, Senator, on the motion to move Resolution 447-37 COR to the third reading file. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. We're now on Bill 334. We're going to recess until tomorrow at 2 p.m. Recess until tomorrow at 2 p.m.